So we all have our go-to colours. If you've been doing journaling long enough, you have your colours that you just reach for. If you're very new to journaling, you might have favourite colours, for example, that you might want to reach for first. So if I say pick any colour, you might be more drawn towards the warmer colours, such as pink, yellow and orange, or the cooler colours, such as the blues and the greens. But on the other hand, you might love a lot of colours or you are so new that you're just not really sure, like you have some favourite colours but you don't know if they're your favourite colours for journaling, for instance. But that means if you have your go-to colours, then you know which one to reach for right now, and if you don't, then just follow along with me and just experiment. Just choose one randomly, close your eyes and reach for your paints and see what happens. So I mean, you know, if you've been following me for longer than 2 minutes, you know that my go-to colour is pink. So this is a gessoed. It's a gessoed one. It's still sort of cool. It has a 100% dry, but it's absolutely fine. I like working with my fingers, but I'm going to apply a fair amount, so I'm going to get a brush. So I'm roughly, you know, you can roughly see, oh, this is quite thick, quite dry, I mean. So I'm going to cover half. And how you do this is completely according to your personality, whether you want it super neat or really messy. And it depends, like I'm a messy artist when it comes to paint. However, sometimes like things with swatches, I kind of like them to be neat. There's just something really relaxing about making nice neat swatches. So I'm not going to make it too neat. If you wanted to make this perfect, you could put down, let me actually get some bit of washi tape that you're not too bothered about. This one feels especially sticky, so I'm going to take some of the stick out. Usually washi tape isn't too sticky, or painter's tape, that sort of thing, you know. But for me, I find washi tape is the cheapest, easiest, and does the job. So this is just if you want a nice crisp line to make it lovely neat. Swatches. Okay, so you can see there, gorgeous, neat line. So if you want to be very precise, by all means, take a ruler and see where your midpoint is. So mine are about 7 centimeters, so 3.5 will be my midpoint. Or just eyeball it, because it doesn't matter. Yeah, this is a little bit sticky. I'm going to reuse it. There we are. And again, this is just if you fancy some really neat swatches. Otherwise, just eyeball it and it could be really messy, and that could be part of the look and quite fun. So just choose another colour. If you've chosen a pink, so if you want some guidance, if you've chosen a pink, go for another warm colour. So go for anything between magenta and orange, yellow. I say between. That can be confusing. So let's see, find a colour wheel. So pink is in the magenta range, so anything between that and yellow. So choose a yellow, an orange, a red. It's a red, magenta, anything there in the really purely warm colours. That's just for some guidance. If you've got your own thing going on, go for it. Do what you like. So I am going to choose. I've got a sort of mid tone of this pink. So it's not very deep dark pink, and it's not a very light blush pink. So I'm going to stay in that sort of mid tones. And at this stage, I'm not after anything very, very specific. I'm just having a play of my basic go-to colours. And this is what I love, or one of the many things I love about, oh, I haven't got, I haven't put my masking tape on this side. I want to keep that nice line. So this is what I love about index cards, is that if you really don't like it, of course, like anything, you can cover it, or you can just take it out of your rotary system, your index system. So I buy packs of washi, though I haven't bought some in a long time because I've got a lot of washi, lots and lots and lots. I don't need any more. There's always a few that are just not that great, I don't want to use, so it works out for this. You can also buy some cheap stuff, and putting the washi just makes it so easy not to fuss. So I've got a really interesting yellow here. It's not the yellow that I'll normally go, you know, as far as go-to colours, then yes, I go for pinks, yellows, and splashes of blue. So with this pink, it just goes great. Even when you're doing your go-to colours, you might find other schemes that you hadn't, specific schemes, like specific colours. So there we go. I have to let that dry. And I'm keeping that mix aside, and same as the pink that I use, I'm keeping that aside because this is all part of our dexing. This is all part of our cataloguing that we're going to do on the back. Okay, so that's nice and dry. Now normally I'll go for a different sort of blue, but this yellow has now, this particular pink and this particular yellow that I mixed has set me on a different path. So that's always really exciting to me. I absolutely adore colour schemes. Collect them on Pinterest, even though I never use them. I still collect them just when I see one that I like. So here I've got in this Arteza mix, it's called Sky Blue. Oh, I always forget the other side. So yeah, playing with colour, what's exciting is that even when you have your go-to colours, oh, that's not quite right. Let me get my white. Even when you have your go-to colours and you're thinking, oh, I'll just put down basically what I use, unless you're doing 100% exact, you know, your you know, straight from the tube paint. If you have these premixes like branded stuff like Tim Holtz or Diane Wakely, something like that, or any paint really, if you're using straight from the tube, then you know the colours you go to, and then you're not going to get any surprises. But if you have a lot of different sorts of paints and tubes and you're mixing, it can get very, very exciting, because even though I'm doing the 3 basic hues, I've also mixed my colours so that what I get won't be what I get next time. And it can give you, just change up your usual colour scheme just enough that you go, oh, okay, a little bit lighter is actually quite good, a little bit darker is quite good, a little bit brighter is quite good from what I've been doing. That's what's exciting about playing with colour, mixing your own colours. Lovely, so that's worked well. So look at that lovely card. So I'm just going to let that dry. Okay, so I'm going to do this one differently. I'm going to grab a non-gessoed card, which I have right here, so that's great. I'm going to grab just some photocopy paper. So my go-to green is lime green. So you will have your own favourite green. I call it lime green, but this one specifically from Daler Rowney is called saffron green. So I'm going to think in those 3 terms of, like I did the first card. Not terms, I mean spaces, you know. But I'm not looking for that perfect straight edge on this one. I'm just having fun, letting it be really mixed media stuff. I also see, I can also, you know, if it's water media, I can blend it, or if it's acrylic and it's still wet, you can get a sort of blend so you can see how the colours blend together. Okay, so I've gone for this very light apricot. I feel like I want a little bit more punch into that. It's sort of in the right ballpark. And now these 2 colours are going to play together in the way that I want them to. Yeah. Oh, what a nice orange that is. It's not usually an orange that I would use, but I love this mix. Oh, love it. Look at that contrast there with the blue. You can mix it there if you want. I don't want to over mix it. And just so fun. Those 2 colours are so fun together. Love, love, love it. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. Okay, that's dried. And just cut this out a little bit just to make it easier to work with. I'm hoping I've put enough paint there. I wasn't very generous there, was I? Oof, if I'm really careful, that would just fit. So I'm going to cut it there because then I know that's where I need to go. That's nice and easy. So yeah, sometimes I do this anyway, but I do find it a little easier to keep it large, and then you can just stick it on and not worry too much about it. But because I didn't put enough paint there, so I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover all the writing, I've decided. So these are my glue magazines, and I glue the index card rather than the paper because I'm going to be cutting out. If you glue the paper, then you'll have all this glue sticking on your scissors and yourself. And you also glue more than you need, really. So the index card is exactly the right amount. And just make sure you get those edges. And it was that bottom bit here that I wanted to keep. So saves me a little bit of extra cutting there, doesn't it? Fabulous. Cut all the excess off. My index cards have a little curve at the top which I quite like. Yours might be completely rectangle. And I tend to just go up and curve slightly just to get that little piece out. That's it, and I just go round. Doesn't have to be perfect at all. When I first started doing index cards, I thought, oh, that doesn't look very good. It's all bits of paper hanging off it, and once I got them in there and all the mixed media and bits and collage and fabric and all sorts going on, I realised it just doesn't matter. You just do not see it. So if these are your first cards that you've made or cut out yourself, whatever, really, really honestly do not be fussed about how wonky the bottom will look. Once it's on your rotary, you will not notice that at all. It's not a big deal. So there you go. So different to that, lovely and neat and so fun to look at. So beautiful to look at, so pretty. And this is fun as well. This is almost like beginning of a background that you're going to do other things on it. I love that sort of thing. So I love that. I love how that just looks like a journal page or card that I'm about to add all sorts of other journaling on. And I love that because it reminds me of, like, you know, Pinterest color schemes that I would like to look at. Organized color schemes. It's just great. So two very different styles. You can have both, you know. You might love the organization of having all your color schemes like that, or you might like to have that difference, or maybe you have two different sections according to color schemes that you're most likely to use, and maybe some wild card sort of color schemes, you know. That's what's great about indexing like this, is that that it's got just so much variety. So it's infinite number of ways you can organize things according to what you like. Okay, so that's just, I'm so glad you've been here, and I hope that's helped, especially if you're a beginner. I hope this really has got you started and less afraid of colour, and just putting some colour combinations down together. And this is just a really, really fast way for us to start with colour and colour schemes and getting started and doing really quick 5-10 minute cards that will be of use and fun to look at, and beautiful to look at as well, pretty to look at. Yay! See you soon. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome back. So we can do the absolutely simplest of colour swatching on our cards for our go-to colours, our favourite colours, all the swatching, or we can get a little bit creative. So I'm going to put a little series here. It might just be one video, but I'm going to put a collection at least of different ways to swatch. Our indexing is functional. It's a cataloguing system. It's a prompt system. But, you know, we're not over fussed about making it beautiful, but we are also mixed media artists, aren't we? So if I can make something a little bit fun, a little bit visually appealing, then I will always go for that. So if you have a little bit more time, or you just want to make pretty cards or aesthetically pleasing swatch cards, then let's just have a play and let's see all the different ways we can come up with something a little bit interesting. So I have plain cards and I have some gessoed cards in case whatever it is I'm doing. I'm going to try not to ramble too much. You know, I'm a chatter. I always have ideas and tips and stories that I can share with you, but I know not everyone has tons of time. So I'm going to try and just quickly explain what I'm doing, and then probably speed up videos and just shut up and stop talking so I can make it a little bit shorter for you. You can just see the ideas. Okay, let's get started. So stencils are a great way to swatch, and I don't mean purposely made for swatching stencils. I just mean any stencil that you have. You can do use a stencil that has a very particular, you know, scene on there, you know, butterfly in the garden or anything at all, any stencil. For swatching, I prefer a sort of mark making or background type of stencil, so that I'm not distracted by anything else. But honestly, it really, really doesn't matter. In fact, using a stencil that has some sort of design, you know, like a scene, like I said, like a butterfly in a garden, might help you visualize the colors, your swatch colors on your art journal page. Do you know what I mean? Like they might make more sense than just something like this. This can be really abstract for some people. I think, well, I like the colors together, but what does that mean on the page? So using a scene could be a really, really cool way of visualizing your colors then in a bigger place, you know, on like an art journal page. If you don't want to be distracted by that, or you don't need that, or you just like the idea of it, just some sort of background sort of stencil. This is Stencil Girl products. You'll see when it comes out, it's just these sort of grungy circles. This is just a generic stencil from Amazon. So it has this grungy circles, like a grungy brick wall or something, some grungy numbers, and I can use these for smaller areas if I want to do that. Okay, so let's try this. Nice and simple. This is not gessoed, and I'm fine with that. I'm very happy working with watercolours on paper. I would say though that if you always use, or almost always use, gesso on your art journal pages, then I would suggest to gesso your cards, because that's going to give you the closest indication of how a colour or product is going to perform on your page, especially a specific product. So like watercolours perform differently on a non-gessoed page and a gesso page. So yeah, it will make sense. If you do use it, then don't skimp on the on the gesso. And because I don't use gesso, or almost never, then I'm quite happy to do it like this. Okay, so I'm getting a nice crazy hot pink over here. And I just take about a third. So this is watercolour, obviously. And it might be how I might do a watercolour. And when I do watercolours and stenciling, I always use these very, very thin stencils. I do like Stencil Girl stencils for this. Sometimes you get really thick stencils, which are great and durable, but they can be a little bit more difficult for certain techniques. So I do like these thinner ones. See, it's difficult not to chat to you because there's always something I can share and some tips I can give you. Okay, so you can see I'm just sort of doing stripes, but I might blend a little bit along. So I can just do stripes, and I say stripes like stripe sort of, because when this comes off it's not going to be striping. Or I can blend into it just to see how that might look. So you can see I'm using my go-to colours here. There we are, I'm getting that blue. Okay, and I haven't been too generous. It's not too much water. If there's quite a lot of water, I will leave that to dry or almost dry and then take it away. But it hasn't, I haven't oversaturated it, so I can remove the stencil. There we are. So isn't that a fun swatch? That's a swatch. I mean, that looks like a page background, doesn't it? So that can already give you an idea of how a background could look. But yeah, that's a little bit more fun maybe than doing that. Let that to dry. Okay, so I'm going to start with my usual blue. A little bit watery. Okay, I'm hoping this is not too watery. It feels a little watery, I'm afraid. It's very easy for me to get overexcited with watercolours. Yes, I got overexcited. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Because a blotch to me is absolutely fine. Obviously, bring down the water if you actually want the shape to come out. So I can't find any scenes. I don't have any scene type things, but I have this really cute rainbow one, and I think this is just Amazon as well, to be honest. But if somebody recognises the design, do let us know. Like that. One, it's nice to look at. Two, it can just give you a better idea of what the colour is going to. You see, this is a little bit thicker, and it's a little, needs a little more work, which can sometimes mess up a watercolour. It's a very thin stencil, but there's thin and then there's really thin, and that really makes a difference. So I'm going round and I'm putting this in a few places. And that is worth noting. There's no set number to a swatch card. Like I do 3, because if you have your 3 basic colours, then you're good to go, really, for creating a journal page. And then you can add other colours, as many as you like, really. There is no rule. Oh, what have I missed? I think I've got everything. But yeah, but if you've got your first 3, you're set, you have your scheme. Right, I'm going to stop there. I think I've got everything. So I'm just going around, I'm blending a little bit colours here and there, which is fine, just to cover this up. That will do. Okay, so it's a fun little card, and obviously, like I said, if it wasn't watercolour or even acrylics that are too watery, and I sponged it on or something, it wouldn't be so blotchy. But who wants to perfect anyway? Like if I did this on a journal page, I would do it like this anyway. I would want messy rainbows. But if you like the idea of a nice, neat index card, of course, use much less water, almost a dry brush or a dry sponge. But yeah, that's another way to swatch, isn't it? Just fun. So when you look at this, you don't even see an index card, a swatch card, do you? It just looks like fun rainbows on a card. But you know yourself, it's a swatch. So now, rather than just seeing this, and this might look just so abstract to you and doesn't mean anything, now you might be able to visualize this as a background or on your in your art journal. Yeah. So it's fun, it's pretty, but it can also be more helpful even than an abstract card like this. So where's my little, so that's still very wet. I'm going to try and sneak in there. Okay, well that gives you an idea. A bit too messy. It may not be so great. It'd be nice if I had a slightly bigger design, bigger circles here and something there. But it gives you something, again, something between sort of this and this, where the colours are more separated, so you can see them a bit better on their own rather than they start mixing too much, but a little bit more dynamic than this and more dynamic than that. You sort of have a, you know, more and more from the simplest to getting a little bit more the abstraction and not abstract, I'm thinking of abstract art now, but the more mixed to look like a background to actual objects to a design background. Fun way of doing it. Oh, and I forgot this one, and of course, so this one is just I think this is my favorite because it's completely covered, but the colors are very separated. So I can very easily see this is a pink, this orange, and this blue, very specific. Or they can see that here, of course, but I'd like that it's a combination of separate colours, but a completely covered card. I'm not that crazy about leaving lots of white, but you might like that. It might really help you see the colours and understand the colours a bit better. So this is probably my favourite at the moment of swatch cards. Yeah. But it's what works for you visually and functionally. So there we go, stencils. Yay, fun. See you in the next one.